RINGVILLE episode Sean Wachter. Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Kevin Herrera Sanchez, KHS, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down with a former child model.
Oof. You dug deep for that one.
Pro footballer, football coach, and you've seen him at New York Wrestling Connection.
Yep.
Cancer survivor, the cancer fighter,
Yes.
Sean Wachter.
Hey, thank you for that very warm and perhaps maybe a little too deep of a dig introduction, but all right, we could talk about that. No holds barred here.
No, absolutely. Thank you very much for sitting down with me.
All right, hey, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Pleasure.
How's your day going so far?
Swell.
Swell?
One word answer, swell.
Swell, okay.
Yeah. Hey, it's going, man. You know what? It's another day with no roots in my face, so I consider that a good day.
That's true. That's anything above that's always a good day.
Hey, that's the base benchmark. You know what? Once you open up your eyes, it's what you do afterwards. That's what matters most.
Absolutely.
So, hey, you know what? I'm getting to sit here and talk with you right now, and that's where we're at. So, ain't too bad of a day if you ask me.
Oh, absolutely. Where did you first discover wrestling?
Oh gosh, I guess the person or the place to be blamed would be my dad and our living room in Baldwin, New York in 1988. I think I was about 3 years old, and it was SummerSlam, the first one coming from the Garden. One. Yeah, I remember that main event there with Hulk Hogan and Macho Man, and I just remember looking at that going like, wow, you know.
That was after WrestleMania 4, right?
I believe so.
They were building up to the Mega Powers.
It was exploding, yes, yeah. So no, that was my first like being sat down in front of it and seeing it and kind of being like, okay. And I guess my dad kind of like saw the spark that kind of like went off like, all right, you know, I was always into like Ghostbusters was kind of like my thing. Muppets was my thing. Nice. And then it was pro wrestling, and you know, I couldn't be a Ghostbuster. And
unfortunately, right?
Yeah, I know. And then the last time I checked, I can't be a Muppet. So being a wrestler was, I guess, like the next in line.
By default, I guess.
But no, my father can be blamed for all this. And, you know, it just grew from there. It went to, you know, sitting down and watching, you know, Challenge on Sundays and Superstars on Saturdays. And I'm sure I probably have those mixed up, but that's what I remember it. And then, you know, fortunately enough, growing up, my father was a police officer in Nassau County. A bunch of his off-duty fellow coworkers worked security at the Nassau Coliseum, which was a hotbed for wrestling in the 80s, 90s, and into the 2000s, you know, before UBS Arena and Barclays all kind of came into prominence. Right. But that meant going to a lot of live events. And I don't think he could have ever fathomed what it was going to bring to my life, both good and bad. But you know, right now I'm getting to do something pretty cool, pretty neat, and you know, it seems that some folks hopefully are getting some good out of it. You know, by someone like myself, cancer survivor, going ahead and saying, you know, F that. I'm going to continue to live my life. I'm going to do my thing, and I'm going to chase my dreams, even as outlandish as they may be. If one person gets something out of it, then everything was worth it to me.
No, totally. Who were some of your favorites?
Oh gosh, you know, it's generational for me, or like, you know, by decade. But you know, obviously, I start off with Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior, and these were cartoon characters. Yeah, you know, these were larger than life. You know, they had the physiques. You know, Warrior with the colors and the makeup and everything like that. Like, to me, there wasn't anything else like that. Like, the closest thing I could think of was like these guys were like living, breathing like He-Man cartoons. So that was cool. And then as we went into the early 90s, I, you know, followed the wave that everyone else did. I became a Bret Hart guy, and then I became a Shawn Michaels guy pretty quickly after that. You know, 'cause that was what was cool. And then I remember slowly phasing into the Attitude Era. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that my wrestling fandom as a child didn't lead to me receiving some bullying or some picking on, because I liked wrestling when maybe it wasn't cool. And when I was in 6th grade, That's when the NWO started to come about. And then 7th grade, you had DX and all that stuff. And I just remember everyone showing up to school with the t-shirts on and, you know, doing the crotch chops. And I'm thinking like, wait a moment. Like, no, like that's my thing. Like, no, you guys being a bunch of dicks to me. And now all of a sudden you're going to start being nice. But it helped that I hit my growth spurt going into middle school too. So, you know.
But if I remember correctly, you were 6 feet going into high school?
Yeah, oh gosh, that was interesting. I was 6 foot, 210 going into high school. I remember going to I went to private school first in high school, and I remember going to the different open houses for the schools on Long Island, and it was something like out of like a really bad movie. Like my dad would go, and we would go to the different extracurricular tables, and you know, we'd obviously go up to the football table, and I could never make the Pee Wee football weight limit as a kid. And now
you were too big.
Yeah. And the private school I went to, we didn't have football. It wasn't like I went to the public middle school where they had all the sports. So when I got my chance to talk to the football coaches at these different open houses, it was pretty much just like, hey, let us know if he has a problem, then slip my dad their home phone number underneath the table. And even my first day of freshman football camp or tryouts, whatever it was, I remember getting screamed at by the varsity coach, telling me that I was late, and you know, just because I overslept 2 hours, and I was like, "Sir, I'm confused." And he said, "You know, you've been here too long to be confused." And I said, "This is my first day in the school, sir." He thought I was a junior, and that's something that's followed me my entire life. Even when I was a senior in high school, I went to get a job at a local bar to try to be a busboy to help pay for prom. And they asked me, "Oh, have you ever done security before?" They thought I was 24 years old. So I started bouncing at bars when I was a senior in high school. So yeah, me looking older, being a little bit bigger at the time, you know, definitely, it had its perks.
I can imagine, So I would say before you went into wrestling, you had the idea or the dream that you wanted to be a football player.
You know, I really wouldn't say I had a dream of being a football player. And you know, now looking back at my life and things I would have done differently, I wouldn't change any of the negative stuff because that's made me who I am today. And that's right now what I'm most proud of, what I'm doing now, you know, being father of 2 young girls, being a husband, getting to be a professional wrestler, getting to be a business executive, finishing my MBA. These are all things that I would not be able to have gotten to if I didn't go through the bad things in my life. I think maybe I overstayed my welcome in football a little bit. I think I should have cut that a little bit shorter and possibly had gotten back into wrestling a lot sooner, but everything happens for a reason. But when I was younger, being I couldn't make the weight limit for football, at the time, football was kind of something that was not being pushed onto me, but being suggested to me very heavily by my dad, who was a lifelong, and much like myself, lifelong suffering Jet fan.
Oof.
Yeah, you know, talk about child abuse, having those season tickets. You know, I'm waiting for CPS to actually show up at my house to take my kids away from me because I made my girls Jet fans. And when they go, "But Daddy, why?" I say, because as the suffering was passed down, now it shall be passed on.
Generational trauma.
Exactly. That's the very healthy American way of handling things. You know. So, but no, I was not really into sports. I was a choir kid. I was a musical kid. You know, did show tunes, the whole nine, singing and dancing. Those tapes hopefully have been burned or destroyed in Hurricane Sandy. And like you said, my mother had gotten me into child modeling and acting. Yeah, I went back on that on you. You like that, right?
I do.
So I didn't really forecast myself as being a sports guy. And to be bluntly honest with you, like I said, I was someone who was picked on. I was someone who was bullied. And when I hit my growth spurt and I saw the attention that, you know, these coaches were paying to me and everything like that, like I said, okay, this is a means for me to have that stop. I'm gonna create almost like a character, and I'm gonna fall into that. And I became it. And people still to this day, like, oh yeah, you were the football guy from high school. Like I became football guy.
Okay.
And that's how I dealt with it. I became, I played football, I wrestled. I gave up on the wrestling halfway through high school because it was a grind, a real big grind. And at the time, girls, other sports, trying to appease my parents with grades, which was not something I was very good at just because I didn't put the energy or attention into it.
I get that.
So I had to drop one of the sports. And amateur wrestling, unfortunately, which if I could get back in a time machine, would kind of keep that around. And I played lacrosse, like I said. And lacrosse I wound up playing in college as well as I played football. So that was kind of, like I said, the character I created for myself. My senior year, though, was the first time that I actually was able to finally get my rear end in a wrestling ring. So that was pretty exciting for me.
Because that was, so timeline-wise, that's around 2002, 2003.
That is the winter of 2002, heading into 2003. And that was pretty neat, Obviously, I'm a little bit older than most, so I'll be turning 40 in December. And back then, when someone wanted to become a wrestler, our industry was still very closeted, and it was still very fenced off. Yeah. And it was kind of like no one openly spoke about like where you can go to wrestle. There was no real Google. We maybe had to like ask Jeeves or like Yahoo or something at the time. I don't know. We may even have like carrier pigeons still. I couldn't tell you. But
a letter in a bottle in the water.
Exactly. but actually, so once again, me looking much older and a little bit bigger than the average high school student at my local gym actually opened the door. I remember it like it was yesterday. I must have been at the gym and I'm wearing the Hulkamania t-shirt, and it was the one that had just come back out because he had just won the new WWE
That's
championship.
When he beat Triple H.
Yes, where he beat Triple H, another one of my favorites. And I was wearing that shirt at the gym. The guy comes up to me and he goes, "Oh, you ever thought about giving wrestling a try?" And I said, "Oh, I did, sir. I did." And he goes, "Oh, you quit?" And I said, "Yeah, just too much stuff going on." He goes, "Oh, it takes a lot of commitment. It's not for everybody." I was like, "Yeah, it was a really tough sport, but I'm trying to focus on my grades." And he goes, "What are you, like in grad school or something?" And I said, "Oh, no, sir, I'm a senior in high school." And he goes, "Wait a moment, you're a senior in high school?" I'm talking about professional wrestling. And I was kind of like eyes lit up like, "Oh,
this could be my way in.
Where? Tell me where I'm going with this." So wound up at this little beat up garage in Hicksville. And it was 3 months of wall sits, air squats, calisthenics, chain wrestling, learning how to lock up. And maybe towards the end of my 3-month tenure, I got to get in the ring for the first time. And it was not get in there and run the ropes and jump up. No, it was literally just learn how to circle around the ring. And this was a far cry from how things are now, because back then, everything was a privilege. Now, there's a lot of great schools to choose from. So people are trying to get people into training right away so they kind of get bit by the bug. But back then, you had to earn getting into that ring. And that was something that was pretty cool. But unfortunately, I had college sports coming, and I had an old man who, like I said, was a retired police detective who followed me one morning down there and realized, wait, you're full of shit. You're full of shit. You're not going to church with your girlfriend who you broke up with like 2 months prior to like.
That was your excuse? That's what you were saying?
I said that I was going to church, or we were doing Bible study, and I think he knew I was doing something else, but he figured like, you know what, let me just humor this and see where this is going. So not only can I kill him afterwards, but I can have a good laugh while I'm doing it. And I remember it was like something out of a movie. Just got out of the car. It was a cold winter day. I got my gear bag in my hand. And all of a sudden just, one of those days you see your breath and all of a sudden door closes and it's just like everything just slowed down. And I just hear my dad, "Hey!" Turn around and it's like, oh, damn. I had a big wad of chewing tobacco in my mouth and I thought that was like the most of my problems. And he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And It doesn't help that the building that we were training in was like a tin like shack. So like every bump, every time the guy ran across the ring, like it creaked, it made all the noise, and like you couldn't hide it. You couldn't, like, he knew what was going on in there. He didn't need to go any closer. And he's like, you have football, you have lacrosse, you got all this stuff going on. You know, you're gonna possibly get some money for it. You know, I've saved my entire life for you to go to college, and now you're gonna take away my coupon. And I was like, well, I'm 18. And he goes, well, that's great. That means you can go live somewhere else because you're not gonna be doing this if you're underneath my roof.
Yeah.
So I begrudgingly got into the car and followed him back home and kind of tucked my tail between my legs and was like, well, that's the end of that.
Yeah, my dad said no.
You know what? I look back at it now. I would have gotten involved in wrestling earlier, but I think knowing where I was at mentally at that time in my life, I think I could have done something with it. But I don't think personally I would be around, and by around I mean be alive for that long. I like to have fun. I used to like to have a lot of fun.
Yeah. You're a little wild back then.
Yeah. Like I said, I started working in bars and nightclubs when I was 18. You know, it's I like to have my fun, and I just don't think back then the way that environment was would have been best for me, especially traveling down the road with people a little bit older than me. It would have maybe not led to some of the better choices. So that unfortunately was the ending of my first venture into professional wrestling. And then we began the whole run of college athletics and my year of playing arena football and coaching football, and kind of went from there until we went back into it briefly. So
Yeah, because you had a pec injury. And that stopped your football career.
Yeah, so essentially what wound up happening was I went to Alfred State College. I played a few seasons there after transferring from Nassau Community. Wasn't really an ideal situation for me going to school there. Excuse me again. One of those situations where it's like, if I had the maturity now, back then, maybe it would have been different, but you can't put me in a town with one stoplight, one bar, and then make me the bouncer at the one bar while I'm playing on two different sports teams. That's not going to lead to academic success. And my father, again, reared his head, and rightfully so, and he came up one Thanksgiving break, and he basically said, guess what, like, get ready to come home because I'm done playing this game. He's like, I know you're getting banged up every night, which wasn't entirely true. It was after the games, but not every night, because if I was hungover, I couldn't work out. So there you go.
There you go. Priorities.
Exactly, have to have the priorities straight. And I'm sure the working out was just solely for the sports reason, nothing else. So we did that. We came back. I started going to Brooklyn College, where I wound up finishing my degree in education. And while I was there, I still wanted to play football. And originally I was going to come home to go to Hofstra, and I was going to play there. And my dad just kind of said, like, that's it. I'm done paying for football. Like, I'm done. Like, I don't care. Like, the New York Jets can say, like, we're going to bring you in. He goes, if I got to pay a penny for it, it's not happening. You're a student. So I said, okay, understood. So I went to Brooklyn College, and then I started playing in a men's rec league. And it just so happened that someone from the New York Dragons was there scouting one of our wide receivers and saw me and said, hey, can you send me some film? So I gave him some film, and they invited me in for a tryout, and they kept me around. And heading into the 2008 season, I was I like to call it the Brock Lesnar spot, because I was the last guy cut from the active roster. But they're like, we want to bring you back, but we want to like send you to another team to get polishing. Kind of like what the Vikings did with him when they sent him to NFL. Well, they wanted to send him to NFL Europe, but he was like, I'm done traveling, and that's what begot him into mixed martial arts. But I was given two choices: go to play for Albany or go play for New Jersey, and wasn't going to be making a lot of money. Didn't want to pack all my stuff, go up to Albany, and then a week later or a couple days later get cut. And then it's like, okay, great. Now I got to move everything back down on my own dime. So I just did the hour-and-a-half commute to New Jersey. That went pretty good. I played mostly special teams. I actually got an opportunity to work out for Jimmy Garrett, and that was the father of Jason Garrett, who used to be head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He had sent his father, who happened to live in the area and was a regional scout for the Cowboys, not to look at me, but to look at one of our quarterbacks. And again, it turned into one of those situations, we need someone to snap. Oh, I used to play center in college. I was long snapping. Oh, cool. All right. We'll keep an eye on you. And I actually got a referral from him to the Canadian Football League. So I was supposed to go to camp with the Toronto Argonauts after my 2008 season. And I just went a little bit too hard in the weight room, just doing a bench press and ripped my pec in half. And I went to one of the finest orthopedic surgeons in New York, who happened to be the Jets team doctor. And prior to him, his father was Jets team doctor. So this was someone who knew his football, knew his sports injuries, and just kind of said, it's never going to be the same again. I could so stake together so many times. Just, that's it. So I kind of threw in the towel on football. What was kind of neat, though, was at the end of that season, the team I was playing with, the New Jersey Revolution, was doing a cross promotion with East Coast Professional Wrestling, because they were going to be putting on a little bit of a fundraiser at the arena the following week. And they asked who from the arena football team here wants to get involved with the Battle Royal. So of course I threw my hand up, and one of my other teammates, which was interesting because he comes back into the picture down the road, he threw his hand up too. So the two of us actually got to wrestle in this Battle Royal. And it was one of those things where, I don't know if he was trying to get students or whatever, but he was like, oh, you got something. Don't give up on this. And I had okay, but then I wound up tearing my pec. So I was very fortunate enough. I went right into coaching football. I wound up getting a teaching position, helped run the in-school suspension program at the particular district I was at, coached a little bit of lacrosse, actually got to coach a little bit of wrestling. And then the last few years that I was there, I got to be the district strength and conditioning coach. So that was really cool, getting to work with like student athletes and stuff like that. And a lot of kids from the in-school suspension program like to use the weight room after school. So I had a great bargaining chip with the kids. Like, if you behave and do what you're supposed to do, I'll train you. You mess around in my class, you're not coming in there. So I had like perfect choir boys and choir girls during the days, to the point that if I needed to call out, perhaps on a Monday morning after a Jets loss, because I had a really bad headache and my stomach hurt for some reason, don't know why, I would normally get lambasted by whoever got stuck covering my class, because they didn't understand the little incentive arrangement we had going on. And the security guards kind of were like, can you just give us a heads up? We don't care, just like, let us know we need to actually work that day, because you're not going to be there. So from there, did that for a few years, and then a few years after the 2008 economic collapse, I unfortunately was a ripple effect, and I was let go from my teaching position. At that point, I had built a pretty healthy nightclub security company, and we started venturing into executive protection as well. So I've always kind of had a side hustle. So it wasn't so much like, okay, shoot, what are we going to do now? Like, where are we going to go? I could take the time and figure out what I wanted to do.
You gave yourself that leeway.
I had applied for other teaching positions, but there were so many people that got cut. All those positions were getting filled by people that were a lot more qualified, had more time under their belt, which can't fault anybody. But I said, you know what? I'm going to, I guess I'll do what everyone else in my family did. I filled out an application to become a New York City cop, and was waiting. And while I was waiting, because I had such an influx of candidates from all the people from other positions that have been let go, I said, you know what? I'll go back and I'll give NYWC another shot. So I got to go back for I think it was another 3 or 4 month clip, and it was kind of cool. During that period of time, you had Matt Cardona, Zach Ryder. He was still living on Long Island, so he was coming into the school very frequently. You had Tony Neese was still in the promotion, still training there. You had Alex Reynolds. You had John Silver that were there. you had a lot of the people that are on TV now, they're training right before they're about to get their break. And the head trainer at the time was Pat Buck, who's now one of the head producers of AEW, runs a fantastic school on the island, Create a Pro. But to get to briefly train under him, even just for a few months, there's still stuff that I do vaguely remember that for some reason stuck with me that I try to incorporate. But again, life happened. While I was waiting a call from the police department, while I was running my little side hustle, I got asked by a cousin of mine if I wanted to get involved in one of the local construction unions, and I did, and really can't go too far into it. There's been some papers that were signed.
That's fair.
But we had an accident, and unfortunately broke my neck pretty badly. And I got told at one point, you may never walk again. So wrestling got clipped yet again. Walking, not being able to do that proficiently, let alone maybe be told like this is never going to happen again for you, was a tough pill to swallow. I remember very crystal clear. Again, my father was with me, and I was laying in an MRI machine. They put me in, checked my head, cool, everything's great. And they pull me out and they put me back in for the neck portion. Now the machine shuts down. I'm laying in this machine. No one's talking to me. No one's telling me anything. And they just come over the thing. Is anyone here with you? And describe what my dad looks like. Next second. Later, I had my dad rubbing my leg. And the surgeon came over with the neurologists over the speaker in the MRI machine. And they said, okay, we're going to be taking you to Winthrop Hospital right now. You need to have emergency surgery. And I said, I don't want to have surgery. I'd only had one surgery in my life at this point on my shoulder, and I don't want surgery. And the surgeon said, if you don't get surgery, you may never walk again. As it is right now, if you sneeze, you're probably not going to walk again. And I remember just starting to get a little teary eyes, and my dad just grabbed my thigh as hard as he could and just said, toughen up. And it was just kind of like, ooh, all right, like I got dialed. Like I was like, all right, let's take care of this now. So we had that done, and gosh, it took me about 3-4 years to really finally be able to walk on my own again. We did the wheelchair, we did the walker, we did a cane for a very long time. Yeah. And then once we finally got up and running again, then I started not feeling well. So I just thought, guess this is just how life is going to be. And I spent possibly 8 months begging for someone to listen to me, to just be like, hey, we'll give you a brain scan, we'll give you a blood test, we'll give you something. I must have went to 6 or 7 different doctors that all just said, oh, this is just all spillover from your accident. This is all, the dizziness, the weird feelings you're having, the headaches.
Like what, football injuries or what they were telling you?
They were just telling me this is from my construction accident and stuff like this. And fast forward, wound up having a massive stroke caused by a golf ball sized brain tumor. So as I always tell everyone, and I'll look into the camera for this one, the most important thing you can do is advocate for your own health. Never give up that right. And if someone tells you something is not wrong and you still feel like crap, go find somebody else that will listen. Do yourself the favor. All right, I'm done breaking the fourth wall. Yeah. So that's kind of where we went to. We got right to the cancer part right there. So.
Yeah. Well, of course, you are the only recorded person.
Yes. So it's pretty interesting. I received a phone call a week and a half ago thanking me. I don't know why they would thank me. I should thank them.
Also, a week and a half ago from today.
Yeah, from Memorial Sloan Kettering there. They called me to thank me, and I couldn't figure out why are you thanking me? I forever will thank you guys. And it was that my case, my cancer journey, had actually gotten publishing approval in the Surgeon General's medical journal, which basically, for lack of better terms now, my research program, my journey, my whole cancer voyage is now technically a government experiment. So, go figure. You know, it's you know, I have a metal neck and back. I have 28 mutations. They've told me.
28.
Yeah, I'm bald. I'm pretty ugly looking. So it's a poor man's Deadpool you're dealing with. Congrats, you got yourself on the cheap here.
That got me off guard.
That's the point. We gotta do this on the fly.
No,
It's calling it in the ring, brother.
Oh, sorry. I'm not a wrestler here.
You're not?
No, believe. Come on.
Oh, dude, come on. Careful with those things. They're locking people up.
Sorry. You're right. So you had stage 4 melanoma.
Yes,
That's
I
when
did.
they found.
I had stage 4 melanoma with leptomeningeal disease, which basically means that the cancer has metastasized or spread to your spinal cord fluid, and basically you go brain dead and die a very painful, aware death of you losing all of your faculties as the cancer cells basically clog the garden hose that is your spinal cord.
So what's the time frame of they find out you're stage 4 to they give you said 12 weeks?
12 weeks to live. I was diagnosed on September 26th of 2016. I fell under the care of Sloan Kettering probably towards the end of October when I was discharged from a local medical facility. We don't use their name. Okay. When I got under Sloan's care, there was probably 2 weeks with being with them when they said, you have 12 weeks to live, because seizures started to pick up. Any sort of chemotherapy that they were trying with me, my organs were failing. And when they did the spinal tap, it came back loaded with cancer cells. So it kind of was just like, all right, we see where this is going now. We have confirmation of what this is. And they continued to find those traces in my spinal cord fluid probably for about 4 years. And then finally we got a negative test. I believe we stopped one treatment. Then we went another year, got another negative test, stopped another treatment.
Okay.
And then it was the summer of 22 was when I took a DNA test, and really cool moment for me, getting to take my stepdaughter to her first WWE live event. Nice. It was something that my wife and I had planned, and I wanted to make it a little special. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna rent a big gaudy limousine and just let her have some fun. We got some ringside seats. They let her do a little walk down the entrance before the thing. Oh, nice. So it was like all the things I wanted to do as a kid. She got to hold Liv Morgan's championship, which I was just like, I wanted to hold. I don't know if it was a sensory thing, but like as a little kid, like all I wanted to do was like touch the ring, touch a belt. Like what does that feel like? You know, like
I touched a belt for the first time probably a month and a half ago.
Okay.
It was like, whoa. It does fulfill like a childhood dream. It's like, yo, this is awesome. Yeah.
So we're headed up to this thing, and they just happened to call when we were on our way, just crossing over into Connecticut, and you look down and you see the number, and you're like, no, I don't want to pick this up. But I picked it up, and I kind of cowered a little bit in the corner of the car, and they said, congratulations, you're the only person on record that is free of your cancer. So I got to tell my stepdaughter for the first time. I think she was, 5 or 6 at the time, and I had been raising her with my wife since she was 1.
Okay.
And the entire time she had no clue that I was sick. She just thought I was going to meetings when I would get my chemo. So I got to share with her that I was very sick, and now I'm the only one that's not.
Right.
And to get to go take her to that and see the joy on her face from getting to witness all the men and women perform, it was just, it's something I wouldn't trade for the world.
It's one of those like perfect days where you hold on.
Yeah, it's just, I couldn't ask for more than that.
Yeah.
And from there, you know, everyone wanted to know, like, what are we going to do now? And I remember everyone wanted to have a big party, and I said, I don't want to have a party. And they said, oh, come on, stop. And believe it or not, I don't like having that big of a deal made of me. I like a little bit of a deal, but not that
every
big.
now and then, right?
Yeah, just, you know, it's all right place, right time.
Yeah.
But they said, well, what can we do? Because we need to do something. I said, well, let's do a fundraiser. And they said, but why not a party? And I said, not a party because I don't have anything to celebrate. I'm one of one. That sucks. I don't want to be one of one. I'm grateful to be one of one, but it sucks being the only person that can make that claim. My inbox, my DMs, everything every day is flooded with people begging, crying, praying, asking, just wanting to have a sliver of what I have. So to sit there and throw my hands up in triumph it would have been insulting to everybody that's still struggling. And I said, let's do something for them. And they said, well, we need some sort of entertainment. What can we use for entertainment? I listen to very heavy metal, or I listen to like 2005, like crunk rap. Like I'm very eclectic. No one wants to listen to my music and have a party or a fundraiser. So, and I was not going to do a Billy Joel cover band. We're not doing that Long Island song and dance. No, thank you. So one of my friends said, well, why don't we get like one of the local wrestling like promotions to come do something? So I was like, all right, let me make some calls. So I made a phone call to ECPW and said, hey, would you guys like to come and put on a show for charity? They said, most certainly, as they're accustomed to doing. And I had a wise ass friend of mine. And he went on Facebook and made a poll, and he was like, if Sean wrestles, are you more apt to come and donate more? And it was like 100-something people who said like yes, and then like I'll historically say it was my mother, my aunts, my dad, and my wife that all said no. And I basically cosplayed a wrestling match. I don't want to disrespect the men and women that do this, who I share a locker room with, by saying, oh, that was my first match. Like that, in retrospect, that was embarrassing. It was sad, but
there's no footage of it?
Oh, there's footage. There's footage. Yeah, we're gonna keep that one locked away for a while. Yeah, but hey, you know what though? I'm hard on myself, but for somebody, like I said, my whole thing is making sure people pick themselves back up.
Absolutely.
So I was able to pick myself back up. I got in there, and I thought that was going to be it. I had my moment, you know. I even had them play Real American when I left. It was a bunch of nonsense. It was a bunch of nonsense. But my sweet little stepdaughter, bless her heart, oh God. Next year comes about, and at the time, my wife and I just found out that we were pregnant with our daughter. And I kind of said, all right, it's time to go back to regular life and get a corporate job. And I had gotten one. I was the VP of marketing for a company that dealt with nonprofit organizations. So I was like, this is really cool. Get to be a little creative, but I get to still work with people that are trying to fight the good fight.
Yes.
And my stepdaughters came up to me and said, Daddy, when are you wrestling again? I didn't get to see you wrestle last year because she was with her birth father on the weekend that we had the fundraiser. So I said, well, sweetheart, you need to ask your mother. Well, that didn't go over too well. And my wife thought I put her up to it, and I got called a few things that we won't be saying on this or on television for that matter. And she said, you get one more. It's almost a year later.
The one more.
Anyway, I had no clue. I had no clue. So I go, all right, sweetheart. So I figured, you know what? I can't insult people by asking them to come and watch the same nonsense. So I found somebody to do a tag team match with. I got a partner. I got in a tag team for us to wrestle. They actually wrestled out of Create a Pro. And Create a Pro was kind enough to have me and my friend come down during open ring. And they worked with us on really some of like the basics.
Okay.
And it was kind of, like I said, they were kind enough to give us the ring when we did come down. And we spent about 4 months, maybe once or twice a week, putting together this match. And it was actually, not that I'm going to say like it was Flair or Steamboat, but it was something that when the card was over, people were able to say like, that match, that was good. Like that was commendable. Like, nice. They did what they were supposed to do. It wasn't perfect. And now being a year into it, looking back, I don't even want to watch because I don't want to cringe. But what happened from that was pretty damn cool. So my friend that poked and prodded and put the pole up, unfortunately, he passed away in the line of duty as a fireman. So when we went to do this again, which I had no intention of doing, I didn't want people to either A, think I was still sick, or this was a ballyhoo for me. I wanted to do this to obviously still raise money for a good cause, but to pay honor to his memory.
Absolutely.
And as a result of that, the attendance practically doubled, actually more like tripled now that I think about it. The amount of money we raised was absurd. And then on top of it, being that it was honoring a local hero, a lot of the local fire departments showed up, local media showed up, and all the local politicians showed up. They gave me a nice certificate saying thank you for your good works, whatever. And the local newspaper approached me and said, we'd like to do a story on you. And I was, come on, you want to run the results, do this, that's fine. They said, we'll put a picture of you on the cover. And I said, okay, don't got to twist my arm that bad. And they got this awesome picture of me with the ECPW tag team title above my head, looking like the mid-level boss himself, all diced up there. And they put a 2-page article and that picture. And I was like, oh gosh, this is one of these things where I may have to tell work, like, by the way, like there's a picture of me like in my underwear with this belt, with my face painted, because I used to paint my face a little bit. And they were like, that's cool, we love it. And I wound up putting it on my LinkedIn. And as they say, ESPN entered the chat. They saw my story. They asked if I was aware of the V Foundation. And unbeknownst to me, the V Foundation actually funded my doctor's research that allowed her to come up with my treatment plan to beat my cancer. So to talk about a full circle moment. And once I explained to them, like, hey, this is what happened, they said, you're going to be our next story. We would love to work with you. And they asked me the $1 million question, do you still wrestle? And the answer was, yes.
Of course.
So I wound up going to NYWC, and I spoke with Shane over there, who's been one of the owners and helped him keep that place going for the past 21 years. And he had some vague memories of me, and I showed him the video, and he's like, there may be something still there. Let's do something. And I've been wrestling there ever since, and I've managed to wrestle in a few different states so far. So it's been pretty cool. I originally thought it was going to be, my one fundraiser, and I thought it was going to maybe that second. Then I thought it was going to be a few months, and now we're back in it full time. So this is where we're at, and this is where we're sitting. And I guess being at your interview, I'll let you ask some questions.
No, absolutely. No, I always try to not to ask too many questions because I just want to hear people talk.
Oh,
it's like, that's what it is.
I don't know why you'd want to do that, especially with me.
Oh, it's okay. Yo, cut.
Wow.
So what was it about New York Wrestling Connection that drew you there?
Well, like I said, back when I was 18 or 17, whatever, it was like right on the cusp. It was that guy approaching me because I had no clue. And when I wanted to go back another time, that was the only school on the island. That was the place to be. And like I said, the names that have turned out of that place, most recently Willow for AEW, and she is an absolute sweetheart of a woman, as kind can be. And
always hear great things about her.
You know what? there's some people that you can meet and be like, whatever, I'm not a big. I have the luxury of knowing her through some of our mutual friends, and she's just awesome. She's awesome. She's actually one of my stepdaughter's favorite wrestlers.
Nice. Oh,
so
yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So during your time for New York Wrestling Connection, you won the trios titles.
Yeah. So
with Mike Mondo and Darius the Juggernaut.
Okay, so this is where now we go back to the little bookmark footnote I put in. So, do you remember when I told you that they asked who wants to wrestle in this battle royal?
Yeah.
Well, Darius the Juggernaut is actually Darius Salakis. And Darius Salakis was an offensive lineman for the New Jersey Revolution with me. So, when I went to go back to wrestle this last time, I had originally had another partner with me, a friend of mine for a very long time, probably since I was about 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
And that was a cool story because I was the one that we built the ring in his uncle's backyard.
Nice.
We went and we sat outside and camped out for tickets, and it just, unfortunately, his business that he was in didn't allow for him to commit to the dates or the amount of time needed to train properly. So I kind of had to make a business decision and pivot. And I called Darius out of the blue and was like, hey, you got like 24 hours to give me an answer if you're available on this, and this. And I need you to get that, and that. Can you get it done? And he said, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night. So then that was it. And we stumbled, we stumbled upon this legitimate 6'7", 350-pound athlete who, if there's footage out there, I wish that they'd put it up there. The guy, there's so many crazy things he can do athletically. It's just.
And for such a big guy too.
Oh, we had one match where he did like the Undertaker dive from the outside of the ring into the over the top rope.
That's 300 pounds coming at you.
350 pounds flying. When we would train together, just him picking me up and be like, oh God, like a rag doll.
Like with ease.
Oh, with total ease. And it's interesting because this is not his only sport. And it's not that he plays football anymore. He almost made the Olympics as a shot put thrower. That's how he got into arena football.
A man of many talents.
Yeah, well, he also does something called steel fighting, which is like medieval MMA. And that's where he gets the Juggernaut name from. Yeah, because that's his character, Darius the Juggernaut. So that was kind of like an easy transfer over. Like, okay, yeah, you're the Juggernaut. There you go.
Medieval MMA.
It's crazy. It's nuts. He was on the national championship team, and then unfortunately he did something to his knee recently, so he's going to be out for a little bit of time. But hopefully he eventually finds his way back into wrestling. Yeah. But yeah, that was pretty damn cool getting to have that run with him. We won those championships at NYWC's The Space, which last year they had in October of 2023. And that was the largest independent wrestling show in Long Island history. Nice. So I won't say come out of retirement, because 7 months of disjointed training does not lead to a career, but to come back into wrestling and make a commitment and break my ass to be able to main event the largest show in Long Island's history was awesome. And as much as I give her hell for breaking my shoes, like my wife deserves so much credit, because she walked into my life when I was dying and hitched her wagon to me. And now I'm not dying anymore. Maybe, who knows, I may go home tonight and she may just finally call it a day with me, but she most certainly did not sign up to marry a wrestler. I'll tell you that, and she's told me that too. So she just
did a double take like wrestling.
She knew, and she dealt with it, but now it's just like the poor woman gets tasked with designing logos. What do you think of this song? Oh, I'm gonna wrestle this one. I talked to that one, and like, she's worried about my health, but it's amazing. She has a degree in art from the New School. She also has a teaching degree, and She plays like 7 different instruments. She's probably the smartest person I know, but she did marry me, but I don't know how smart she could be then. And then she took it further and had a kid with me. Like, come on. Oof, God.
Like, come on, decisions, you know?
But I try to explain her to her, like, and this is how a lot of wrestlers look at it. Like, to us, this is our art. Yeah. This is our form of expression. This is where, no pun intended, like, we get to paint on our canvas. Mm-hmm. And when I get to go places like Tampa, and I get to go to Malachi Black's house and meet with him and Bobby Fish, and go over things like, hey, when you throw your kicks, try it this way, or maybe you should go into this move instead of that. I try to explain to my wife, that's like getting flown, because she's a big guitar player. I'm like, that'd be like getting flown to a John Mayer concert and John Mayer showing you how to play a chord the way that he plays it on his guitar.
Right.
I know maybe it doesn't seem like a very clean translation, but like to share some of the locker rooms that I've shared with, whether it be Tommy Dreamer, Mikey Whipwreck, Richard Holiday, the Headbangers, Sho Funaki, just throwing out random names, but just to be able to pick their brain and ask them questions. Like right now, I'm in a tag team with JT Kaysen, and we are being managed, and soon we will be teaming in a trios contenders match with Mikey Whipwreck. And Mikey has taken me underneath his wing, and to be able to say that I've had Mike Mondo have his hands in my training, to say I've had Pat Buck have his hands in my training, to say I have had Mikey Whipwreck have his hands in my training. Like, to me, that's, for Long Island Wrestling, that's like going to Harvard, Yale, and Princeton. Right. You can't beat that. And with Whipwreck's awesome because, yes, he does tell me, like, hey, you need to do this more. You need to work on that. We need to cut back on this. But I've spent more time talking to him about how to be a dad and a husband and a family man, because I know in your questions you sent me, you're going to say, how do I balance the two?
Yeah.
And I will say, I balance it poorly. I do. Okay. No, I don't. We know I love to have fun, but like it's something that I need to do a better job at. Okay. I need to give my family more of the time they deserve, especially when my daughter was first born. I would be on the road for 10 days doing both wrestling and my regular job, and I'd be flying right into JFK and going right to the training school because we'd have a match this weekend. Okay. My daughter was born on a Thursday morning. Friday night I was wrestling, and this was and I can't take that back. I can't go back in time, and I can't have those moments back. Yeah. But that was my way of paying dues. I don't have an infinite amount of time. I'm not an 18-year-old kid. I am not a 27-year-old kid. I am an almost a 40-year-old man who, by all accords, should not be here. And even if I didn't have the health conditions I have, I probably still should not be doing this, because no sane person should voluntarily do this, but we do because we love it. But that was what I was able to offer up to the people that were saying, oh, he's just coming in, he's an Instagram wrestler, he's a Make-A-Wish wrestler, oh, he's only booked because he had cancer. I've heard these things, and my retort is, no, I put in the same damn time, and I have given up things that I can't get back. Right. And that's why, like I said, I'm poor at it. I still am poor at it. You know, my girls and I could be watching a movie, and, you know, I could only watch Miss Rachel or Frozen 2 so many times, but my head is not home. My head is in the ring. My head is thinking about what's the next thing that we're gonna do? What's the next opportunity I come up with? Because I think wrestling, like any other business, is one of those things, if you don't evolve, you die. And it's like something that I'm very happy about. It's something I'm very pleased with. It's the platform of wrestling, be able to share my cancer story is great. But even with that story is done. Yeah. I had the cancer. I beat the cancer. I wanted to become a wrestler. Well, now I am a wrestler. Where do we go next?
Yeah. And now you're 100% in.
Now I'm 100% in, and it's where do we go next? It's no longer Sean Wachter, cancer survivor wrestler. Now we go over to Sean Wachter, wrestler. And then if you want to know the story, awesome, it's there to be told.
Right.
But the story is complete. Now we start a new story.
Absolutely. So what are your goals for wrestling?
My goals for wrestling is hopefully have some sort of televised match. I think that is something that if I put my mind to it and work at it, that is something attainable. I've had conversations with some people that have said some very good, promising things in all of the higher places. Can't name names.
For sure.
I'd like to, on my bucket list, wouldn't mind getting to wrestle in the ECW arena, the 2300 arena.
Absolutely.
That's something that's on my bucket list. Just continuing to go out, well, like I said, while maybe locally in my home promotions, maybe we're going to start to put more emphasis on the wrestling aspect and less on the story.
Yeah.
I'm still more than willing to travel the country, and what I'll normally do is I'll say to the folks, hey, don't give me a payday. Make a donation to one of the cancer charities I work with, and I'm yours, free of charge. And I come and I'll wrestle and I'll share my story, and hopefully it inspires somebody.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the goals right there, to continue traveling, to continue trying to make strides, or maybe eventually get myself on television somewhere with someone, and then hopefully get that match at the ECW 2300 arena.
Hopefully.
You know,
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Absolutely.
it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Right. Well, thank you very much for sitting down with me.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
Pleasure. Now, did you actually turn the camera on, or?
Well, no. It's not rolling.
okay.
No.
We
This
didn't
is just a
start this
rehearsal.
yet?
It's a rehearsal.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
good, good.
Yeah. You know, I just wanted to see what you were gonna say, and it's like, oh, we don't like that. You know?
Yeah, it's all right. I get it. Hey, look, it's not for everybody.
No, absolutely.
Thanks.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
Of course.
All
No,
right,
thank you.
Do you want me to leave this by the door or anything like that?
Yeah, it's
No?
okay. You can take the cup with you, though.
Okay, thanks.
All right. All right, everyone. Until next time, we're out.